Welcome to the 700 Club. Hurricane Irma has weakened to a Category 4, but it's still a very dangerous storm as it heads straight for Florida. And experts are warning that could be devastating.
Florida's governor is warning residents to follow evacuation orders, and people who are staying put are getting ready for what could be the storm of their lives. Charlene Aaron brings us the story.
Hurricane Irma has moved within striking distance of South Florida, where residents are boarding up homes, grabbing dwindling supplies of bottled water, and battling fuel shortages seeking to get out of harm's way.
I'm very scared, so I'm just trying to get as far north as possible.
We want to get to higher ground.
Florida's governor is stressing the powerful storm could be a historic disaster, and residents should listen to mandatory evacuations.
Remember, Hurricane Andrew is one of the worst storms in the history of Florida. This storm is much worse.
Irma is likely to move up along the east coast of Florida with a potential threat to Georgia and the Carolinas after doing serious damage throughout islands in the Caribbean. Irma is the strongest hurricane ever recorded in the Atlantic Ocean. With 170-mile-per-hour winds, it devastated small northern Caribbean islands like St. Martin and Barbuda.
The entire country has been decimated.
It was the worst time in all my life, and I would not want to see another hurricane like this again.
We were praying the whole time.
How are we going to survive after this?
In Puerto Rico, the storm left nearly 1 million people without power, and it could be 4 to 6 months in some areas before it's restored. And here in the U.S., the National Weather Service warns that some locations hit by Irma could be uninhabitable for weeks or months due to powerful winds, and that structural damage to buildings, with many washing away, is possible in some coastal areas. Major preparations are underway. In addition to Florida, the governor of Georgia declared a state of emergency for his state's Atlantic coast. And the governors of South and North Carolina have declared states of emergency.
There's no gas, there's no water, the grocery stores are empty. They have security guards and police at Home Depot. They're rioting for plywood down there. It's crazy.
But Florida is the main state in Irma's path, where huge numbers of people are evacuating and getting ready for the monster storm. And CBN's Operation Blessing has been stocking up for its relief and humanitarian aid as well.
Our team spent the day moving in semi-truckloads of water into our hurricane headquarters located in Ocala, Florida. At that warehouse, it is packed full of emergency food, supplies, water, personal hygiene items, so that once Irma moves out and the roads are safe to go in, Operation Blessing semi-trucks will begin to roll out to the hardest hit communities, providing them life-sustaining resources.
And so Operation Blessing is getting ready to be on the scene when people need them the most. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Does make you wonder what in the world is going on, the number of disasters that we're seeing. Just this morning, an earthquake off of Mexico, 8.1 to 8.2, fears of tsunamis. The wildfires in Montana, that's a story you don't hear too much, but 500,000 acres. The wildfires in Oregon, Los Angeles, then the devastation of Harvey. One of the most severe storms in the history of the United States. And then right on top of it, Irma. And if Irma hits on the track that we're talking about, this is one monster storm. You heard the governor talk about Andrew. From the reports I've heard, it's like 2.5 Andrews can fit inside of Irma. That's how big this storm is, how wide it is. And at a Category 4 with a storm surge, you are talking about devastation. And then if it keeps going up through Georgia, the current track into Tennessee, you're talking massive flooding. This is a disaster on biblical proportions. And what as Christians are we to do? Well, number one, please pray. Can this storm dissipate? Can it even weaken even further? Let's not be satisfied it's weakened to a Cat 4. Cat 4 is still a very dangerous storm. And then can we help people in need? Can we say, we're here for you? We're not just going to pray, we're going to do things tangibly. You just heard about how Operation Blessing is mobilizing in Ocala, Florida. That's where our main base is to supply relief supplies for hurricanes. And if you want to be a part of it, now's the time to do it. You can call us, 1-800-700-7000. We have people standing by on the phones right now to take your call. And all you have to do is say, I want to give to the Disaster Relief Fund for Operation Blessing. So call us right now, have a credit card ready. We also have cbn.com where you can go and you can give a designated gift into that disaster relief fund. And that's a designated gift. It's going to help people in need, whether that's Hurricane Harvey, whether the teams that are going into Mexico to help with that earthquake, or what's being prepared right now in Ocala to help with Irma. Do it now. Call 1-800-700-7000. In other news, the Trump administration has taken a stand in a very widely watched religious liberties case. Wendy Griffith has that story from the CBN newsroom. Wendy?
Thanks, Gordon. That's right. The administration is supporting a Colorado baker who declined to make a cake for a same-sex wedding. The Justice Department has filed a brief on behalf of Jack Phillips in his upcoming Supreme Court case. The department says forcing him to make such a cake would violate his conscious rights. 86 members of Congress have also filed a brief in support of Phillips. The baker says his religious beliefs on marriage prevented him from making the cake.
Every American should be free to choose which art they will create and which art they won't create, without fear of unjustly being punished by the government.
A government that tells you what you can't say is bad enough. But a government that tells you what you must say and what you must do and punishes you if you don't is frightening. That kind of state power should scare all of us, no matter where we stand on this issue.
Lawyers from Alliance Defending Freedom are representing Phillips. They expect oral arguments to be scheduled later this fall. Well, that wedding cake case you just heard about shows just how important judges can be. They can shape laws for generations. As Paul Strand reports from Washington, critics say that's why Senate Democrats are blocking many of President Trump's choices for federal judges, and why grassroots conservatives are fighting back.
There are more than 140 vacancies in the federal judiciary right now. It's not that there aren't nominees, there's plenty of them. It's that the Democrats are holding up almost the entire pack, and it's sheer politics.
Candidate Donald Trump promised to pick constitutionalists as judges and justices. For many Americans, it was a key reason to vote for him, and the president has followed through. But with Democrats opposing so many of his nominees, the group Concerned Women for America brought dozens of ladies to Capitol Hill to lobby their senators to do whatever it takes to break the logjam and get Trump's picks onto the bench. In a Senate caucus room, Carrie Severino of the Judicial Crisis Network told these grassroots women that Democrats are indeed stalling some of the president's judicial choices.
Even though Trump started with about 100 nominations, he's almost up 50%. He's up to 144, and we have several more of that we know are coming. And they forced even people that all the Democrats voted for, they're forcing to jump through huge procedural hurdles, which is something that just didn't used to happen.
Lawyer Gary Marks, who advises the Judicial Crisis Network, said some Senate Democrats have even gone after nominees' religion.
Senator Al Franken and Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, some of their attacks on these nominees that in essence said Catholics need not apply, really persecuting these amazing judges like Amy Coney Barrett for their Catholic faithfulness.
Severino points out Democrats even held up a former Obama nominee, David Nye.
They made him go through a whole process. They forced the Senate to waste 30 hours of debate time on him. There was no debate to be had. He had 100 votes. So that's the kind of thing that's really frustrating.
Marks encouraged the women by telling them their lobbying and activism to get all these nominees voted on makes a difference.
It echoes here in the halls of the U.S. Senate, in rooms like this and in committee rooms. It doesn't go for naught.
Severino says the battle is no small deal. Presidents serve just 4 or 8 years, but not their judicial picks.
All of these people are going to be on the bench for life, and they're the ones who are deciding so many important cases that are coming up.
Not only into my children's lifetime, but into my grandchildren's lifetime.
We think of the Supreme Court, but you forget 99+% of cases happen and are finally decided at the district court and appellate court level. So it's wonderful that we have Neil Gorsuch in the Supreme Court. That was a huge victory. But boy, we need to have these other seats filled with people who have the same high principles and commitment to the rule of law and to the Constitution.
So where those at the top are holding things up right now, groups like these are hoping grassroots pressure coming up from below can get them to quit the stalling and get on the move. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Capitol Hill.
Thanks, Paul. U.S. intelligence has concluded that it's, quote, highly probable that North Korea did test a hydrogen bomb last weekend. But even before that test, one group of scientists have been watching for earthquakes. That's to see if the North Koreans might be testing powerful new weapons. Eric Rosales brings us that story.
When an earthquake happens, a seismologist with the help of instruments can usually pinpoint its epicenter and tell people how large it was. But they do a lot more than that. According to the Seismological Society of America, most of what we know about North Korea's past nuclear tests come directly from the work by seismologists. These scientists study earthquakes and the energy waves moving through the ground. When a nuclear blast occurs, energy waves are created, and studying them can pinpoint where the explosion happened. On September 10, 1996, the UN General Assembly adopted the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, which banned nuclear explosions anywhere on Earth, preventing nuclear testing in the atmosphere, underwater, and even underground.
Our signature, along with that of Russia, China, France, the United Kingdom, and the vast majority of nations around the world, will create an international barrier against nuclear testing.
However, North Korea's rogue regime is the only country to ignore the rules.
Seismological evidence is key to alert world leaders and the international community in anything that happened on the planet.
Lassina Zerbo is the executive secretary of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, located in Vienna, Austria. It has more than 300 monitoring sites around the world.
The Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty Organization is an independent international framework that gathers 183 countries that have signed and 166 that have ratified. So it is true, North Korea is yet to sign the Comprehensive Test Ban Agreement.
He adds it was his organization that discovered and relayed information about North Korea's testing of nukes in 2006, 2009, and 2013. And that data was sent to all 183 countries who were part of the organization within a few hours, faster than North Korea could go public about its own test. Countries get information like its location, its magnitude, the time, and depth of the shock waves. It's important to note the organization never tells a country which policies to create. Scientists simply give the country its data and let them reach their own conclusions. Eric Rosales, CBN News, Washington.
Interesting. Thanks, Eric. Here at home, while all eyes are focused on Hurricane Irma, Operation Blessing is still at work helping people in Texas who were swamped by Hurricane Harvey. OB volunteer teams are working in cities like Rockport, Beaumont, and Port Arthur, and the cleanup operations have been enormous. But people who live in these areas have been extremely grateful for Operation Blessing's help.
Operation Blessing is a blessing because not only were the young guys and the young ladies helping, they were so kind and nice and understanding about your loss. You know, it's not just cleaning up. We understand that this is a loss for you. It's a loss for my family.
Gordon, it's so good to see that OB is still helping those who need so much help after all the destruction that Harvey caused, and it's going to be a while.
It is going to be a while, and Operation Blessing is asking specifically for volunteers to come help with the cleanup effort in Port Arthur and Beaumont, Texas. So if you want to be a part of it, for volunteer information, all you have to do is go to the website, operationblessing.org, and you can find out more. And we encourage, as we're getting ready, not just for further relief efforts for Hurricane Harvey in Texas, but managing relief efforts for the entire state of Florida. If you want to be a part of it, all you have to do is call us right now, 1-800-700-7000. Say, I want to be a part of Operation Blessing Disaster Relief. We have people on the phones right now taking calls. So call us now, 1-800-700-7000.